All right. Hello. Hold on. Let me enable the chat. Hey, Eric. How you doing? Time for a quick nap. Yeah. Yeah. I hear you. Yeah. I'll teach you all about coticules. That's funny. Yeah. Yeah. It feels a little uneven. Do a quick spritz here. It's one thing to have a convex stone, but I'm not sure anybody wants a concave one. Presumably you can hear me and see me. I'm never quite sure with this streaming software that I use. Hello, Dolomite. How are you? I'm going to be doing. Let me put a bit of slurry here. I'm not a big proponent of the Dr. Matt bring everything up to 8K and then use your natural stone as a finishing stone. I kind of feel as if so many of these stones, especially coticles, work so well as single one stone hones. Now I'm doing Sean. So many of these work as one stone hones that why not? Why not? Hi there, Trunker. Thank you for showing up. So today's challenge for me is to verify that the stream is live and stream is working. Let me see. Is that straight? Let's see. That's reasonably straight enough. Anyway, I'm going to be doing a Dubl Duck 6/8 round point, which is very nice. This currently has a coticule edge on it. And then after that, but I'm gonna refetch it. Both of these edges I'm going to push with oil. I've decided that I really like pushing it with oil. You can get extra sharpness out of that. Thanks to Eric for pointing this out to me. He is really the master of all coticule things as far as I'm concerned. He claims he's got his own master, but I think he's put in the time. This is a Veinette. That I was able to purchase from Rick Widmer. Is that right, Eric? Is that how you say it? Yeah, yeah, Dolomite. Each of these natural stones has a personality, and it's fun to play with that. I mean, it's fun to. You really have to put in your time. Eric does a terrific job of putting in his time to get to know the stones, and that really is. That's the fun of natural stones, is to really learn the personality. I kind of treat them as all abrasives. You know, they're all the same thing. They're all an abrasive. I can make pretty much any stone work for me, but that's not the point. The point is for me at least, is not to prove to myself that I can get something sharp. I already know I can get something sharp. What I'm trying to do is enjoy, you know, have a unique experience on each stone. I mean, if I'm going to stand here and if I'm going to enjoy it, well, why not? You know, why not have a library of experiences that I can have? And so, for me, having a variety of stones is that library of experiences. Maybe a better idea is a book with a bunch of chapters. Now let's keep going here. This I did not. I have not. This, as I said, this has had an edge on it. I'm just letting the slurry knock back that edge and retexture the edge. I've got really nice slurry flow over the edge. Which hopefully you can see. Now normally I will just do this until based on feel. I'm not sure that's the greatest way to show you on a YouTube video. So I tend to overuse the packing peanut. But I can feel the toe, especially on this pass, coming in now, starting to clean up. And as with other stones, I'm able to feel, because I've done enough of this, I'm able to feel small changes in the edge on the stone. And that's just putting some time in. I suspect most of you who are watching, I think there's like 3 or 4 of you. Oh, hey, Josh. Good to see you. Somebody let me know if you can hear me. I'm not real sure. I use some streaming software on an iPad that is a little bit confounding to use. The advantage is it allows me to, yep, good. Thank you. Thanks, Josh. Really appreciate that. The advantage of doing it this way is I use my phone as a webcam, and then I use the iPad to stream, and then I can actually see the chat and see the stone from the position that I sharpen from. So there's an advantage for me to do it this way, but the interface to the software is kind of goofy. Hey, Robert. All right, so anyway, let's, instead of doing this by feel, which won't show you very much, let's show you where I am here. And it's where I would expect to be. Very good. I'm going to raise the slurry again. Not much of one. And then I'll go with this and dilute this. This is going to be this is going to be the, should be the final slurry. I'm a big fan of these thinner stones. I like thin. If the stone is thin and long, then it gives me an opportunity to really work on the edge in sections. And if I'm concentrating on the edge in sections, then I'm more likely to get a nice even grind from heel to toe. This needs water. What I like about finishing on oil on the coticule is that it's a way to push the edge beyond what your typical coticule will give you. You know, if we think in terms of an edge that feels a lot like an 8 or a 10K synthetic in terms of sharpness, or really keenness would be the right term. You know, if we think in terms of that, then the oil step allows you to push it beyond there. So, you know, maybe from 10 to, you know, maybe from 10 to 12 or 8 to 12. Just that little bump, and I like that little bump. And then that in combination with stropping the edge a little more to help round over the raggedness that the coticule leaves. That really makes for a great preparation of a coticule edge. That's what I sent to Eric, and that's, you know, ever since he suggested using oil, baby oil, and it's important to use the cheapest oil that you can find. You know, we're both big proponents of that. Catch up here. Yeah, Robert, it did cool down over here. Yeah, so I think one of the tricks that Eric uses is what I'm about to do, which is to go to oil. The other trick I think I glommed onto, but he does it I think as well. The other thing he does is to strop a lot more after coming off the stone, and I did that. I've been doing that too, and it makes a big difference. Let's see where we are. Well, that's already pushing into the cloud here. A little bit of work on the heel, and I'm picking nits, right? I'm being really particular here. There we go. Very good. Very good. Okay. I'm going to call that one done. With some stropping. Oh, no. What am I saying? I'm going to do oil. With some stropping, that's going to be pretty outstanding. Yeah, Robert, I would definitely try doing more stropping coming off of a coticule. It makes a big difference. The advantage I have is looking at these things under such high magnification. And when I first saw the edge, my my technique is reasonably good, and I wasn't trying to get the kind of. I think one of the things that set Dr. Matt off when he did his codical thing, his codical stuff about 10 years ago. I think he was trying to get an edge like he gets with, that super smooth edge that he gets with a synthetic. And I think he was frustrated by the edge that he was getting off of one stone hones. And so he went to this idea of going to 8K and then bumping to a coticule with no slurry and doing a few strokes and calling that a coticule edge. My approach was different. My thinking is I kind of know I can get things sharp, and I don't think my technique is any different on one stone than another. So coming off the coticule edge, the coticule stone, the edge is ragged. So my view was, okay, so that's just the nature of the stone, and it makes sense because the particles aren't breaking down. The garnets are a variety of sizes, but they're not breaking down, and that variety is pretty great in a coticule, and you can tell that from the scratch pattern. Scratch pattern shows you that. So my view was, well, okay, I've got kind of a ragged edge. With stropping, I should be able to align a lot of those saw teeth, and I should also be able to break off, frankly. I mean, they're teensy tiny. I should be able to break off and round over some of the others, and that was my rationale for doing it. I do pretty much twice the amount of stropping off a coticule that I do off of a normal stone. Let's see here. Let's see. So somebody asked, an arc is different, yeah. Trunker. Hey Josiah, how are you? I know somebody asked if I had thinned the if I had thinned the river razor. No, I found a way. I found a way to get the edge. The edge is wide. It's like 19 degrees, but I found a way to get that edge, get the apex so keen, and I did it with a. I think I did it with an arc. I didn't use a. I think it's an arc. It's an arc, or it may even be one of the slates. It might be a an arc or a Escher. I can't remember, but I was able to get it super keen by being just focusing on getting it that way, and it shaves a lot better that way. I mean, not great. I can still feel the the wideness of the bevel. I'm gonna show that this technique. I've been hesitant to do it because you don't act. So I can do the calculations, and the calculations will make you think that you need precision. But to thin behind the edge, you don't actually need precision. So my method looks really hokey. I use literally stacks of Post-it notes, and to adjust. So I can adjust. If you look at if I put the razor on the hone this way, you can see that if I wanted to lower the spine, I could move it off the stone and lower it. And then I'm sharpening at a different angle. And so that's effectively what I do. Is I put a plate, I tape the edge, I put a plate, put a little oil on the plate, and lower the plate relative to the stone. Now the lowering is only fractions of a millimeter typically, maybe a millimeter. ideally a millimeter, and you can measure the thickness of a Post-it note and use stacks of Post-it notes to get one surface close enough to 1 millimeter below the other, and it works. The problem I have is that I view all of this as very imprecise because we're not measuring typically. Even when I measure the bevel angle, I'm not doing that with great precision. What matters is getting an edge that you like, and so this method looks so hokey and works so well that I'm really hesitant to really do a video on it, but I'm sure I will. I'm not convinced. So the advantage of it is that you can thin the bevel. It is not a substitute for convex honing. I think that you probably shouldn't be convex honing if your goal is just to thin behind the bevel. JPO has the best explanation of convex honing and how to use it to move pressure around on the bevel surface. I think it's absolutely valid for that purpose. Let's see, Apocalypse Now. How much stropping? For Coticule, I'll typically do 40 laps on fire hose linen and then another 80 on leather, something like that. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of hand stropping, but that's just me. Dolomite, you should measure your angle, and I'm in touch with Boris, and I want to. What am I doing here? I'm in touch with him, and I want to. I want to consider. I want him to the next razor that I get from him. I'm literally going to specify the dimensions of the. If I order I'm thinking about getting a 7/8, and I'm going to specify the dimension of the spine to get me a 16-degree bevel angle. I'm not sure. He may. There may be reasons why the bevel angle on mine is wide, but if you're not liking the way it feels, you can get it sharp, but you don't like the way it feels. Measure that bevel angle and just see what you get. I want to concentrate a little bit here. All right, let's call that good. I've got soapy water around here. The 14 replica that I had Boris make for me is excellent. It's literally measures exactly like the 14 should. Beautiful workmanship, great steel. And so, I mean, there he's got a pattern to work from. And I don't know if he for a more custom razor, I don't know what he does to decide on the geometry. When I got my 6/8 river razor done, it's It's comfortable, and it shaves really well. And I put off the idea of thinning it. The method that I just told you, if you use, if you go up, if you do synthetics, then the new bevel that you create will be mirror polished and beautiful, and you can, it will be, you know, it's actually pretty easy to be straight, to go straight up and down, or you can turn everything and go back and forth. Um, the bevel comes out nice and even and very, very shiny. All right, let's see where we are on testing here. Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful, and this is not even stropped yet. Okay. So now we're going to call this done. That is super, super keen. And I'm going to wash this off. No, I have not, Robert. I haven't seen the one he posted. He posted where? Oh, on YouTube. Huh. No, I'll have to go over there. Go over to his site. Yeah, he does beautiful work. All right, that is cleaned. Hang on, I need to get myself organized here. Want to move this razor where it won't get wet. There we go. I like the live stream that Eric and Sean did today. That was really cool. I need somebody to like that to keep me from getting sidetracked, getting distracted. All right. Yeah, that was real nice, Josiah, because you know, one person can be reading comments while the other is concentrating, and vice versa. It's Sean and I talked about doing it as well. Maybe that'll happen. Maybe all three of us can do it, and then those guys can do all the work, and I can do all the talking. So this is the Wacker 6/8, half hollow, and you can feel it on the stone. You can feel the stiffness of the blade. Nice steel. This is the first Wacker. This is mine. This is the first one that I've had. They have a terrific reputation. This has a shave ready edge, but you know, I'm particular. So if you're new to coticles, I don't know, yeah, Josiah probably is. If you're new to coticles, I'm skipping steps. What you normally want to do is build a fairly thick slurry, and then every few strokes, you want to dip your finger and then add a little water, and that guarantees the way coticule slurry works is by density. The slurry doesn't really break down, probably fractures, but it doesn't really break down. And so you reduce the amount of material that you remove by reducing the density of the slurry. And so the standard way of doing that if you're not really, when you're first learning, the standard way of doing that is to do what I'm doing here. Just dip your finger, put some water into the slurry to thin it out as you go. I know Eric does this too. I've seen him do it. I skip steps. I do that because I've been using slurries a long time. I'm pretty confident with how to use a slurry, and I'm also pretty familiar with how an edge develops on a stone. So that makes me a poor example. But I think if you do it the recommended way when you're first learning, it's the best way to do it. And then after you've done quite a few sharpenings on a coticule, then you'll get an idea what it feels like as the slurry thins. And Eric, if you're still here, yeah, Josiah, I'm doing AA. AA for the rest of you is austere August. What grid am I using to lap the coticule? Apocalypse Now, I'm using, this thing is technically, when it's new, this is the Shapton Glass diamond lapping plate. When it's new, it's about 600 grit. This one is over 10 years old, so it's probably more like 1200 grit by now. Let's see here. Yeah, Robert, I suspect you're better at it than you suspect. Eric, I saw Eric shave with your edges, and he had very good things to say. So it could be that your standards are higher than Eric's are or mine are. So you might be teaching us. Yeah, so I did not like the way the shave ready edge feels on the stone. It's starting to get much better. Pressure on a coticule is also a thing. The surfaces, even when you flatten them or texture them with a slurry stone, they're rough. They tend to be rough, and so you want to be careful with pressure on the stone, so that you're not inadvertently digging the edge in. If you're a vertical honer, that can be more of an issue than if you hone at an angle. because collisions are glancing in this direction, but they're head on in this direction. So that may be an issue. I'm about to do some testing here. Oh yeah, we're very, very good. Very good. I'd say it's interesting. Yeah, that's right near push into the cloud. So let's move to oil. Hello, Alex. That's a really good question, Alex. I would say, yeah, that's a really good question. I think most people have a tendency to jump to JNATs because they have such a tremendous reputation. I think that if you learn on a cotticle because you with a JNAT, the typical Magawa Asano progression is to have a very hard finishing stone. That's your JNAT, and you use the Nagura to go from coarse, medium, fine, and then if you have a Koma stone, that's an extra fine, and then your final stage is either a Tomo slurry, which is slurry off the stone itself, or just plain water. And that's a little easier because the slurries are different in their abrasive characteristics. With a coticule, you have to really work the slurry to get it to work for you. So, I mean, this is a long answer to your question. I actually think if you put the work in on a coticule, you'll get much better results when you move to a JNAT. We tend to pay a lot of money for JNATs, and my impression is that people are too quick to judge the stone. They say, oh well, I got this. Pick a stone, and it isn't working for me. And my experience is generally that I can make pretty much anything work for me, and that's because I have spent a ton of time, like many years, always using slurry and learning to manage it. And I think if you learn to manage slurry on a coticule, your likelihood of getting great results from a good, not an excellent one that you pay thousands of dollars for, but a good JNAT can be a great performer for you. So I don't know, long answer, but that's kind of what I think. Yeah, dolomite. There's no kind of magic here. I've been sending edge. I do honing for other people, and I've sent edges to Eric and to Sean. And by the way, you can't use too much oil. So I've sent edges to them, and I've received edges from them, and what I tell everybody when and others have sent me their edges to try out and inspect for them, and I'm happy to do it. But the geometry is pretty fixed. So if you and there's a limit. Each stone has a limit to what it can do. So if your skill level is to the point where you're sensitive to what your stone can do, or your experience is to the point where you're able to know how far the stone will go for you, it's probably how far it'll go for the rest of us. So I always say, when I send an edge out to somebody, or I receive an edge from somebody who's a little concerned about it, the likelihood is your edge is as good as mine. Because there's, like here, their razor geometry is going to limit the bevel angle. It's defining the bevel angle. And the only thing that I can really control is how to get the most out of this stone and how to get a quality edge from, which means a consistent edge from heel to toe on this razor. And anybody who's in this stream can do that. I've done rocket science, so I can tell you with authority that this is not rocket science. What I like about the oil is the feedback that you get with oil is absolutely fantastic. I can modulate my pressure and to the point where I can just feel the apex being worked on the stone, and then I can come back off of it and let the reduction in pressure be the refinement that I'm going to get, the extra refinement that I'm going to get. All right, let's see where we are. Another video that I'm going to do aside from the thinning one. I did a video on how to hone a curved blade, but I'm going to do another one. I have a Sato knife with a very extremely curved blade, and I'm going to show you my method for doing that. Again, I think too many people get wound up about it. It's not that hard, and I'll show you when I do the video. I'll show you why it's not that hard. You probably can ruin a curved blade by worrying about it more than honing it with a reasonable approach. Okay, let's see where we are. I'm hoping for good things. Yeah. A little. This is the advantage of really thinking about these things in sections, is that if you think about it in sections and go back in sections, generally your correction work is pretty small. I was kind of hoping Sean was going to show up. Yeah, it is. That's a tight curve. So is the Arceto. So this was for Sean. Oh man, I'm addicted to those things. There we go. Better. A little better. Maybe it could get better. I think I'm going to go with that. It's definitely better at the rest of the blade. It's not terrible. I mean, it's actually No, I'm sorry. I'm going to continue. I'm going to do more. Let's see here. Okay. So what's hard about this, doing it this way, is it's difficult to, well, it's difficult for me to concentrate and also keep up. Um, I'm not too heavy-handed with an arc. I use feedback to tell me what pressure to use, and I really like an arc edge. I used to, I used to always go from a Coticule to an Arkansas. Talking to No Name Bear. There we go. There we go. There we go. That's better. More uniform. Okay, those are both going to get a lot. They're both really good. That's another thing I like. I want the edge to be as close as possible to perfect coming off the stone, and that way stropping only helps but isn't necessary for final sharpness. Hang on, I need to put this down. Thanks for putting up with me being so disjointed here. Let's see. So, Robert, I bet you're not as heavy-handed as you think. I would just pay attention to feedback. Go when you're finishing, especially. Go go as light as you can, and if you get no feedback, just increase your torque just a tiny amount, thinking about how that very apex feels on the stone, because that's all you're worried about, is that 0.5 millimeter that of the razor that does the cutting, and that's a tiny piece, so you don't want a lot of pressure on that. Yeah. Any questions for me? I'm done with both razors. I guess while I'm standing here, I can clean up. I'm literally using soapy water to get the oil off. Probably obvious. Hang on, check in on the chat here. Why the cheapest? That's a joke. I got that from Eric. It is pretty thin. I bought this. I bought at CVS, a drugstore near me. It was literally the least expensive oil in the little rack there. It's thin. The main advantage of it is it's very thin. It may have things besides oil in it. Probably does. Works really well. I don't, you know, it's like I said, it's a joke. You don't need, I have used, way back when I was sharpening on silicon carbide stones, I used to buy the honing oil. You know, that's probably oil that is, its viscosity is sort of tuned to silicon carbide. But for coties, this really thin baby oil works really, really well. And it works really well on arcs. I've done several arc edges with that baby oil, and boy, absolutely great. So yeah, I'm a fan of cheap baby oil. You know, the joke is that it needs to be cheap. All right, let's see where we are. What was the final grit texture you left on your arc? You mean, what did it look like? It looks like a toned down. So it came. I've been going to the arc off of coties, and so it looks like a toned down, shinier cotty edge. You can still see the large striations left from early slurries on the coticule. But the apex itself is far less toothy, far more even, but still obviously a natural stone edge that's not a J-nat. J-nat edge is the abrasive in the finishing J-nats. The abrasive is so tiny that you get these beautiful smooth edges. And that also gives you that beautiful Kasumi finish as well. That's not the kind of finish you're getting off of an arc. And also, I should note that I don't burnish my arcs. I actually texture them. So I'm actually going for a little texture coming off the arc. I've never liked. I tried burnishing an arc a while back. Actually, when I saw Dr. Matt do it, I burnished an arc, but I didn't like it at all. Again, it works for him with his process where he comes off of an 8K and then does just a few passes on the finishing stone. That works for him, but it doesn't work for me. As I said, it's really just a matter of taste. In the end, you know, both edges are sharp. I just like trying to get more of the character of the stone into the final edge. So lapping grit. When do you lap the arc? Oh, so what I do, hang on. I just got some replacements. So what I do is I use silicon carbide sandpaper. These are the replacements that just came in, and I'll go from coarse to medium to fine using the silicon carbide sandpaper. And what I do is I put the back of a sharpening plate, which is flat, not this one, but you know, like an Atoma plate, I'll use the back of the plate and attach the sandpaper to that, and that is a great way to texture any stone surface. It's silicon carbide, the same stuff that you use with the powder, and the advantage is that you can control the thickness. With the powder, it's all over the place and it's a mess. With this, the thickness is controlled by its adhesion to the paper. And the silicon carbide paper, it does wear down, but it's surprising. If you let the paper do the work and not pressure, like if you start with really coarse, you can remove material quickly without a ton of pressure. And the same is true as you go up or go up or down in abrasive size. You know, here's the most fine, and this will put a very nice polish quickly on something like an Arkansas. So my solution is to forego the mess of silicon carbide powder and use silicon carbide stuck to sandpaper. Yeah, the dolomite. I agree. I mean, if I want to run the razor, or I also tried it with knives. If I want to run them back and forth on glass, I can just use glass. Yeah, it wasn't my thing. I know there are other people who do like it. Yeah, well, again, so I just moved up in the chat. Robert does like a polished surface. So, are you actually burnishing, or are you using a fine grit powder or paper to polish your surface, Robert? Fine grit paper. Well, you're doing what I'm doing. There's going to be a texture there. It's just a fine texture. What Dr. Matt did is he took and others, he didn't invent this. He takes a chisel and turns it over and literally burnishes the surface of the arc with a ton of pressure. And all that does is it simply rounds over all of the surface texture. So it's not polishing, it's burnishing, and it becomes so smooth. It is a fair amount of work, but it doesn't take that long. I mean, I remember doing it. It's just a very, very smooth surface with very little abrasive quality to it. Whereas what you're doing with fine grit sandpaper is you are creating a very fine textured surface. That's what I do, so obviously that's what I'm in favor of. That's a whole different thing. That's polished to a level of abrasiveness. He's literally doing everything he can to remove that level. At least that's how I see it. Oh, interesting, Robert. Yeah, I've never done that. I don't worry too much about using the arc for anything other than a finisher. But that's a good idea. Certainly a good idea, especially with the Dan's Whetstone arcs. They come to you nice and flat. You don't have to spend a ton of time trying to get them flat. So on both sides, in fact, I have, until I marked them, I used to confuse which side was which, and I finally occurred to me, if you mark it, you won't confuse yourself. Okay, folks, we are at an hour. I can't believe you stayed with me here. It spans the progression. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense, Robert. That makes sense to me. So we've been here an hour. I really appreciate you hanging on. I'm going to call it here so I can finish my drink, and let's see what time's it. 5:44. Yeah, maybe start making a little bit of dinner. All right, take care, all. Really appreciate you coming and joining me, and we'll see you in another video. Bye bye.